So it's day 1 on Beyond Light, looking around at all the new weapons. But to get us through the content, we need some old reliables. And nothing is more reliable going into the future than exotics, because they're not getting sunset, you know what I mean? Look fellas, if you have not seen our most recent Beyond Light Sandbox video, feel free to go check it out. In the description below will be a link to that video. It's a very long video, but it details everything that's going to be changing in the upcoming Sandbox. This video is a consequence of that one, as I wanted to outline essentially 7 exotics that I myself will be keeping very close to me going into Beyond Light. These are exotics that are receiving the buffs going into the next Sandbox. Some of these may very well be meta. Some of them already are meta. But if there's one thing to say about all of these, they have a lot of character to them. And I'm happy to see that despite some legendaries going away, these exotics are going to be front and center in this next Sandbox. So first on the list, the one that was spoken about directly in the TWAB, the only 150 round per minute hand cannon in the game, Sunshot. That's right guys, Sunshot will be the only 150 that will not be converting to 140. I also want to bring up something because there was a comment on our Sandbox video. Lightweights are going away. They're converting to adaptives, meaning there won't be lightweight 140s and adaptive 140s. No, they will all be adaptive 140s, which I know is a bummer, but this is all part of the process here. Sunshot, though, will stay a 150, meaning it will retain that 0.8 second time to kill value. And I honestly think they couldn't have chosen a better hand cannon to leave as a 150 here. Now, Sunshot has a lot of good things going for it. Number 1, does come with an exotic catalyst that boosts its range and stability. Number 2, it got a magazine buff back inside of Shadowkeep, which we were all very excited about. Extremely nice for both PvP and PvE. But this weapon has been reworked so many times. I'm like thinking of year 1 when its explosion, its sunblast was like a fart in the wind. And then they amped it up to nuke levels. And my God, is it explosive. I love the AoE damage of Sunshot. And the fact that the weapon comes with sunburn and does those explosive rounds, that explosive round portion of damage never runs into damage fall off. So with the blanket buff that's coming to hand cannons in regards to range, and with Sunshot remaining as the only 150 round per minute hand cannon in the game, be looking for this exotic to be a top tier choice going into Beyond Light. Moving on to our next hand cannon. Oh, there's a lot of hand cannons, by the way. Just warning you. Thorn. As deadly as Thorn is currently as a 150, it's gonna be even deadlier in the next Sandbox. First up, let's just throw out some facts about Thorn. Thorn actually has the ability to 2-tap Guardian 6 resilience or less when activating Soul Devour. Beautiful damage over time perk. Essentially picking up those green remnants really buffs the damage of this thing, allowing it to stroke enemies in 2 shots. And again, that's in the current Sandbox as a 150. Thorn also has the ability though to 2-crit 1 body Guardians 5 resilience or less. But remember, that's as a 150 round per minute hand cannon. Now that it's going to be dropping down to a 140, its crit damage and its body shot damage will be buffed accordingly to match the archetype, thus resulting in Thorn, at least theoretically, being able to kill Guardians non-resilience or less in 2 crits, 1 body, and maybe even max resilience. There is some rounding of numbers, so it very well could be max resilience starting next season. Thorn can go in there and put Guardians down 2 crits, 1 body, which is amazing. By the way, 140s can't do that. They require 3 crits just like 150s. So Thorn, kind of like Sunshot, is separating itself greatly from the pack by being the only 140 round per minute hand cannon to 2-crit 1 body. This is of course excluding perks that boost their damage, you know, rampage, kill clip, etc. On top of that, considering that that range buff will also be applied, the Thorn, yeah, as unfortunate as it is to say goodbye to this hand cannon as a 150, and it is one of my favorite hand cannons, I welcome it with open arms as a 140. 2 crits, 1 body, little layer there of forgiveness. Be ready guys, it's gonna be nasty. Moving on to our 3rd weapon, one of which was not directly talked about in the TWAB, Vigilance Wing. Look, here's the reality. Vigilance Wing has already been meta for like the past 6-7 months. It's disgusting. It has a 0.77 time to kill value, and out of the 2 bursts, it requires only a 50% crit rate. This is by far the most forgiving weapon in the game, with simultaneously one of the best time to kills in the game. Now, a huge reason why Vigilance Wing is about to see a ginormous uptick in usage is that auto rifles are getting a nerf. To what extent? We don't really know. A lot of us are speculating that the time to kill value, though, for 600 round per minute auto rifles will be 0.8 seconds going into this next sandbox. If that is the case, this leaves a ginormous void. I mean, auto rifles are still going to be good, but it does leave a void, allowing for something like V-Wing here to slip right on in and become the top tier option, especially in something like Trials. I love using it in Trials. Jay uses it all the time, religiously. It's one of those weapons that can square off in the mid-range, can combat both snipers, auto rifles, hand cannons, just about everything. And considering that sniper rifles are also being addressed in terms of its target acquisition, that was probably the hardest counter to V-Wing for me, right? It was like I would be shooting someone, literally unloading my V-Wing into them, and somehow they would squeeze a crit off. Now that that's being adjusted and auto rifles are also getting nerfed, holy hell, what's there to counter V-Wing? Not much. I mean, really, this may be the best weapon in the next sandbox. Now moving on to our next weapon on the list, we have another hand cannon. Oh, you know it, man. But look, I love this hand cannon. Definitely still the sexiest hand cannon in the game. Ace of Spades, you know it. Now, Ace of Spades has really only had one thing in my eyes that has held it back for the past year, and that was the range nerf. The range nerf, to me, really affected Ace of Spades, amongst a couple of other things that were directly nerfed on this weapon. But the main thing is Memento Mori is still a fantastic perk, still buffs that damage ginormously on Ace. It's still one of the hardest, if not the hardest hitting 140 in the game. Ace has always been a top tier option. The problem is that the range nerf that affected it really knocked it down a couple notches when it came to our best weapons inside of Crucible. With the shift of hand cannons moving to 140s, everyone is going to start looking for that next best hand cannon. There's a lot of hand cannon enthusiasts out there. They love their hand cannons. And now that they're also getting a range buff, and no longer is the range stat on hand cannons going to have diminishing returns, it's actually going to mean something for something like Ace of Spades with that 86 range stat. I think Ace of Spades here will benefit the most from this range buff. Again, it's kind of like a number of things happen here to elevate Ace, more than Bungie coming out there and being like, yo, Ace is going to be meta, bam. But when you got all these things happening, auto rifles shifting down a few slots, 150 round per minute hand cannons completely being moved to 140s, without a doubt, this opens up a very nice space for Ace to fill. Moving on to our next exotic on this list, Jade Rabbit. Now, Jade is actually getting a direct buff. Number one, the weapon's getting high caliber rounds. You heard it, man. Getting high cal, which is fantastic. You ready to get flinch? Because Jade's going to be popping it. Now, it originally had armor-piercing rounds, but Bungie stated that this actually prevented the exotic perk from triggering, although I always thought it did trigger. And even though Jade Rabbit's perk doesn't necessarily benefit it in those 1v1s, it definitely benefits it going from target to target, increasing our crit shot damage when chaining from body shots. I like it. I know a lot of people want to see perks that directly benefit the weapon in those 1v1s, but this adds a level of forgiveness here to Jade Rabbit. And let's be frank, 150 round per minute scouts in the right condition, on the right maps, can reach that nice, sexy 0.8 second time to kill value in 3 crits. Now we're going to be slapping high cal on it. Oh my God, the flinch. The flinch alone already from a 150 was super noticeable just due to the sheer damage. But now high cal also being tacked on there, it's going to drive snipers crazy. Jade was one of my favorite weapons back in Destiny 1. It was the ultimate lane weapon. You just couldn't beat it. Now, if that wasn't enough to excite you, scout rifles already are getting a buff in regards to their target acquisition. That's right. The aim assist cone on scouts are going to be 15% wider. So you know how you shoot a Jade Rabbit and you're like, yo, I hit that man in the shoulder and it was still a crit? Well, now you're going to be able to hit him in the belly button, maybe even the waist. And you think I'm joking. I'm not joking. I know that doesn't sound like 15%. Like, damn, really? That's 50. That sounds like 50%, Cross. You're getting way ahead of yourself. Watch what I say. Watch what I say, man. Next sandbox, you shoot somebody in the crotch, watch it be a crit. Moving on to our next weapon, one of which we had to cover, Malfeasance. Oh, the last time you saw this thing. This is such a great hand cannon and Gambit. Nobody uses it though, which is such a shame. It comes with that explosive shadow perk, which allows us to stack on these tainted slugs into our enemies, and after 5 shots, they explode. Beautiful. But the issue was it came with a 14 round magazine, which is actually pretty good for a 180. I just want to bring up. Now though, 180s are actually getting a magazine scaled up by 37%. We're doing our math right. That should give us somewhere between 19 and 20 shots in this hand cannon. Now, I don't know if there's going to be a rounding in that. Regardless, a magazine buff to Malfeasance, which is already a fantastic weapon, and Taken Predator, which allows this weapon to do bonus damage against Taken enemies and Gambit invaders. And we're also getting Gambit Perfected coming this fall. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, Malfeasance might be a top tier option, especially for my PvE guys. I very much am looking forward to this, and there's something to be said about a lot of the weapons we're mentioning on this list. I think we might actually get finally that Thorn Catalyst and Malfeasance Catalyst. Considering that Bungie, at least in our eyes, is very obviously buffing these exotics, whether directly or indirectly, I think now will be the time when they finally introduce those exotic catalysts. Now moving on to our final weapon on the list. And by the way, if I didn't mention your favorite exotic, don't be offended. These are just the 7 that are like my personal favorites going into this next sandbox. But this next hand cannon is hands down the best 110 round per minute hand cannon, or better yet, 120 round per minute hand cannon in the game, and that is Sturm. That's right, guys. Sturm, just like all other 110s, is converting to a 120. Talked about the time to kill values for these weapons. 120 should sit somewhere around a 1 second time to kill value. And with the range bump coming back to 110s or 120s in a hefty way, even more so than 140s, I think Sturm is going to be a hell of a sniper hand cannon. I mean, this weapon already has fantastic stats. 91 range, 73 handling. Sturm does not feel like your normal sluggish, aggressive hand cannon. It actually feels much more fluid. On top of that, Drain is being, I guess, reissued to us, and it was actually confirmed that Drain will never be sunset, and I guess we're getting a static roll of this with accurate rounds and moving target. Either way it goes, Drain is actually one of the best sidearms in the game. I think this weapon combo is positioned very well to be disgusting in this next sandbox. But guys, those are the 7 exotics that I would suggest keeping your eyes on. Maybe go ahead and have them in your vault or your inventory. I think they're going to be a lot of fun to use in this next sandbox. I'm really excited to give all of these a go. I think it's also interesting that Bungie is apparently making exotics the top tier options in this next sandbox above all things, which I'm actually okay to see. Like, I'm already training with my sunshot, becoming one with the sun. You know what I mean? Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching. And as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.